Hello, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Real Pain Talks of PSC. So, been out for a bit here. I've been a little bit busy, been swamped with many different things, and it's summertime, so I've been trying to get out and do some stuff with the family. So I've been a little bit swamped at the moment, but I am set up now in home base, in association still with One-to-One Media, but set up in-house to really be able to crank these off, guys. It was really, really tough, especially with the coronavirus, to get into One-to-One studios. Not for booking, just me to get myself there. Super swamped. I got this right at my fingertips now, guys. So I want to start pumping these out once again, now that I got the ball rolling. So super excited for that because it's a sweet little system. Like I said, I'm set up right here. Got the computer in front of me now. So now sky's the limits now. Sky's the limits. So on this episode today, I thought I would talk about a couple things. And the one thing that I've been hearing a lot about online, and I think is a really good topic and that could help a lot of people, including myself, because it has helped me once I kind of realized where I stand on that. And it's coming down to the topic of value. And value can mean so many different things to so many different people. It really does depend on what you are doing, right? So when it comes to value, you really want to try and really find what you value, whether it comes down to doing a good job, making money, being productive. It might not even come down to your job as a painter or your job period. It could come down to all the little things in your life that you do, like those domino effects that we talked about in one of the past episodes with Donnie. All those domino effects that you set up for yourself. That might be something in your personal life that you really value that helps you shine overall in your life. So when it comes to value, guys, really, what does that mean? Well, the definition is the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something, a person's principle or standards of behavior, and one's judgment of what is important in life. So those are the first two that popped up when I typed that definition in there. So, and what does that mean to me? Really, what is it meaning? To me, it means that you're going to hold each and everything in your life, whether it be material, choices, decisions, goals, you're going to hold that at a certain level. And that level is going to depend on really what you value and what you want out for the outcome out of whatever you're setting your mind to. Okay. So for me, I value things a lot differently now that I've been in business for about, on my own, kicking it hard for about 7-8 years. I've been painting for almost 16, so I got to see a little bit of different sides, working with another company, for another company, and then being your own company, and then having your own, system in your company, and then seeing all the things. It's funny because then you get to see it in both ways. You work for a company, you see all the things they go through, then you do it yourself, and then you try and see like, okay, can you do better? Some people do worse. Some people just think they can, maybe they have bad mentors or bad examples. But for me, I always try to look at the bigger picture. And then my values started to change when I did that over time. You start experiencing different things, and getting different jobs and doing different things, and maybe even having different opportunities in your life that might affect your job or, your contracts or where you're working or whatever it might be, right? So when it comes down to like the value, where do you set your value at? Say you work by the hour for somebody. Do you value saving your money and taking the bus? Or do you think it's more valuable to try and save up, get a car, and then get from point A to point B? It really depends on what you value. I always think it comes down to also tools. Tools is a big one that I found. Becomes this toss-up. That's not good or that's bad or this tool's better than that tool. And it might be so on certain things, but it all depends on what you're trying to achieve and what the outcome's going to be. What do you value out of using that specific tool and paying that price for that specific tool? If you don't care about the price, maybe you really value knowing that that tool could probably produce 2 times, 3 times, what you need out of it. And you see value in paying that because it might stand up to that value, right? Some people don't see it that way. They see it as like, no, I can do it without it. That's might be too expensive. It might be this, might be that, might not be the best for that price. I might be able to do it without it. So you're valuing more your hard-earned dollar and your time. And then some people say, well, time is money. So that's where it becomes the argument all the time, because really it all comes down to what you value, a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. So that's a pretty good one. That's number 2 on Google for the definition. And then the first one was the regard that something is held to deserve the importance, worth, or usefulness of something, right? So that could come down to the tools and how well that tool works for you, or that product, or even a worker, you know. That was one thing I started to realize the farther I got into my career and the higher caliber that the houses became. I didn't value having 6-7 guys at a lower wage. I didn't value that anymore, because I could get more value, in my opinion, in my eyes, out of stronger, more knowledgeable, better painters, and have less of them. And it becomes that 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Because I didn't value that anymore, having to babysit. I didn't see that, you know. And I mean, you once you get to a certain point, you do want to be able, or you do want to not just be able to, you actually have to delegate some jobs that are no longer your jobs anymore. You know, if the business starts to get bigger and it starts growing, or you yourself become stronger, faster, whatever it might be, things will change, and you'll start to value things differently in different ways, right? So that's why even on Instagram, or I should just say social media, I should just always favor Instagram, even though it's a great platform in itself. But there is a lot of hate, all the different platforms. And I just think that if you're getting some hate, you should just brush it off, because just remember, it comes down to what you value, you know. There's a lot of fuss sometimes with the taping and the frog tape, or all of those points for that matter. And frog tape in itself can be a conversation. And then it can also be, you know, that, oh, I can brush it faster. Oh, well, frog tape isn't even the best anyways. There's different tapes that are better. But if, you know, real decorators should be able to tape it, or to cut it with a brush without taping it. So, and that comes down to not what's better, because really it's going to come down to what you value. And that's even going to be you as a consumer. So if a customer is happy with your brush strokes, with your lines, with everything that you've done, and you get paid, and they see value in paying you that dollar for what you've done your job. Is there other companies better or worse? Well, of course, there's always going to be that. Even the best company can't be 100% perfect, because especially with what we're doing, guys, it's handcrafted materials we're working with. So perfection, you can get very, very close to perfection. But with your eye, you're going to see things, right? So that's why it comes down to back and forth. Doesn't mean it's better or worse. If I can see something, or somebody can see something in my work, sometimes there's times you have to just be like, that's what you're getting. That's what they get, because this might be the price, or this might be the scenario, or this is the tools I use, you know. And that would even come down to your profit. And the profit could sometimes doing an extra step, just knowing that it's, you know, it's good karma, and it's good on your reputation to just, maybe you make that extra step, you take one more extra step. You might not get paid for that. Even if you pay all your guys and all your materials, it might come out of your pocket. But what do you value? Do you value that almighty dollar to the point where you want to charge for every single thing and have a possibility of not getting residual work, or people being like, well, he doesn't want to work with me at all? Because that happens, you know. You hear in the new home industry, you hear this a lot. Well, he didn't want to sit down at the table. And it's like, okay, I get it. You know, there's only so much people can take, but it's going to come down to, you know, what do you value? Do you value staying busy and being able to find the calibers for the dollar that you're getting paid, or just try and stick to what you like and do what you want to do, and do it sort of your way, and work with the right trades that help you get it that way? So that's always an option too. But then again, it comes down to what you value. Some people value, you know, only doing the custom stuff because they can't stand to step away from something and be like, oh my God, like how could I just leave that? And then I said it could come down to tools, could come down to the dollar, could come down to really your personality. Because some guys really value just making quick money. And there's a place for everything. Like I've said before, guys, in the past, there's a place for everything. Everything has its place. But you just got to be very careful, because if you start to value the wrong things, at least in my opinion, you can find yourself in a sticky situation. No, you don't want to bend over to everybody out there and be the nice guy to everybody, but it's easier for you to negotiate later on if you're open, honest, kind, and willing to work with people. Everybody's got a budget. Everybody's got a better tool or a better system or a better way, but that's not what it's about, guys. It does come down to value and what you value. That principle or standard of behavior, like Google keeps telling me here. And and really with that, like I said, guys, the reason I wanted to get on and talk about this is because we should just remember that it doesn't come down to better or worse or wrong or right. And I'm sure it does in some aspects. But like I said, then again, it's coming down to, if your customer is paying you for a job and you think it's good and they think it's good and they pay you, job's done. You've done your job, So me, I don't really value cutting corners. But yeah, here's a couple things that I value. I value hard work, even if you're not getting paid for it sometimes, because really, at least in the new home industry, that definitely happens. So I value hard work. I value respect, because that's a big one. I value quality, and I'm sure that's a whole podcast in itself. Maybe bring that definition up one day, because I've heard so many discussions of that. But I do value quality, at least to my standard, and that comes down to, once again, where do you sit with your standard, and are you there because you value certain things? Yes, I do. I value using better paints. I value using some better tools, and whatever that means as a better tool. But here's a good one. Benjamin Moore's got a ton of great products, but so does everybody else. Some are not as good, but some still get the job done. Do I like to use Benjamin Moore paint? No, because I personally think, for where I am and what I'm doing, for where I am and in my environment especially, I could never use their lacquer, for one. And then for two, a lot of their wall and ceiling paints are pretty, I don't want to say overpriced. Let's just say pricey, because I don't think it's fair to say they're overpriced, because there are some other products out there that are really expensive that are shit. So that's a tough one. But I don't value just using it because, say, a designer or a homeowner or somebody sees that as like, oh, well, it's so expensive. It's the best. We have to use it. Well, hold on now, because I've used a few of the products a few times, and in my professional opinion, they're not always the best, at least when it comes to budgets. There are other products that you can get that will hold up, that are more durable, that still have, great qualities about them, that are a little bit better priced. And they're not even cheaper in terms of cheap. They're just better priced, because they're still up there, but some of the stuff from Ben Moore is just ridiculously expensive, in my opinion. Right? So I don't value that. I don't see value in, some of the prep work stuff, here's a good one. I see value in the long end of the job. I don't want to, let's get quickly, let's get going. It's like, I'm okay with knowing that that little bit of extra prep at the beginning is going to save me a shitload of work in the end. And I've realized that over time, and I've been able to really hone in on that and be like, is it really better this way? And for me, for where I am and what I'm doing, yes, it is. And I value that a lot, because in the end, we are really just cleaning up and we're gone. And I mean cleaning up by like sweeping, picking up our tools, organizing, and we're gone. It's no more like, we got to clean some paint off over here. We might have missed this. It's like, nope. I like to do a little bit more in the beginning to get more out in the end, because I value my time and my guys' time. So that's why sometimes when we do new home construction or renovations, that's a little frustrating, because, they don't value your time the way you value your time. They just need you guys either in or out, or they need you to do certain things. Sometimes you get to jobs, they might not be clean, they might not be ready, but they still want you to start. And that's kind of frustrating for me, because the one thing, there you go, that I value the most really is my time and my crew's time. You know, especially if people are hiring you because they've made it, like for instance, my Instagram, and it's annoying. You might think like, oh, he's tooting his own horn. No, because sometimes what happens is people see that, they want what they see, but they don't always want to pay for it. And then it's this whole explanation of like, well, oh, that's so expensive. And it's like, well, this is what you're getting. If you want to not pay that much, you can probably get this. You know, so that's and that's back to the value. They don't see value in that. You know, here's a good one. And this is from a builder who builds very big houses. And I kept saying to the guy, hey man, like the drywall isn't the best. Like here in Calgary, Alberta, it's, you know, the gypsum drywall board, they mud it, tape it. Sometimes they do the level 5 spraying compound on the ceilings. Some guys do it all on the walls as well. I don't see that a lot. What you do see is you see just, well, at least before what I was doing on the really high end stuff, really, really, really good drywall crew. Like, I'm sure a lot of people don't think that you can get a painted ceiling really flat without doing the level 5 compound. And I've seen it. And these guys do a great job. They're skimming and stuff like that. They're really, 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 really good. But once again, comes down to value. Some builders don't value that. They don't see paying the extra, whatever, 30, 40K to have that extra coat or two done. Okay. So this is what this gentleman's telling me. And he's a builder, right? So it's like, well, hey man, like my product isn't going to look that good on top of the previous job, which is the drywaller's job. And I said to him, like, this is bad, man. Like, it's not that great. And he told me, he's like, you know what? The homeowner doesn't see the value in spending the extra 50K. And I was like, really? Like, this is a huge house, but huge house, bigger volume becomes a lot more money. And I was like, no doubt. Hey, he's like, no, it's hard to sell them on that because they don't see it. They don't really see it. And they might see it in the end when the job's done and the house is all done. And be like, damn, like what's with that hump? What's with that hump? But some don't. Right. So it becomes this thing where I'm just like, holy crap, man. But it comes back down to that value. Some people don't know any better. And is that a way to like get away with doing shit work? Absolutely not. But you do need to learn, like I said in the last podcast of growing your first year on your own, you really need to be able to know how to gauge that though, because you don't want to be going overboard, but you also need to be able to know when it's good enough. And then if they're paying you to do better than good enough, then like I said, just make sure you give them that, make sure you have that skill and then do that. So like I said, for me, that's a big one, the value of time. And I mean, the dollar really plays into that a lot too, because of course everybody wants a deal. But not everybody, now that I think about it, because there are people that do really value, this is kind of, so it's like, you know, you could buy a decent pair of jeans once or twice a year, or you could buy a really, really good brand pair of jeans. Hopefully, you know, you've done your homework. It's a good brand and it could last you 5-6 years, you know? So it comes down to that's just supply and demand. And it works with the painting world too, right? So if somebody wants to pay you to do a mediocre job, I guess that's sort of okay, because they might see value in it no matter what you think, right? So, and that's what's crazy about it all, because there are some people, and I've met, especially in the high-end game, that they don't care what the price is. Just make sure you do a damn fucking good job. And it's like, okay, perfect. And that's perfect. And those are the types of clients that we like, because then we know it's like, okay, this is where we don't have to hold back or cut corners to kind of get out of Dodge. Because it does come down to that dollar as well. Trust me, I do value the dollar because obviously I value my time. Nobody wants to work to go into the red. You know, like I tell some of the guys I sub off of sometimes, hey man, if I'm going to lose money and go into I might as well go work at Walmart. Like if I'm going into the red, like I might as well go work at Walmart. because, what's the point of working to not make money? It's pointless. That's, like I said, that's why there's the no. Find value in what you value. And if that's your time, then, sometimes you have to say no. When I first started kind of taking my own side jobs on, this is what I would do a lot. And it bit me in the ass a few times. And I just quickly, that's another thing, guys. Be very conscious of what you're doing and don't lie to yourself. I knew, I was like, damn, I can't do this. I got to make a change. I can't keep doing this. I got to make a change. So essentially what I was doing was I was booking myself for a ton of jobs. And I hear this a lot too. Oh, I'm booked till the end of, till the end of the year, I'm booked. And they're like a 2-3 man crew. And you're like, okay, so you have a job booked after every other job. Okay, cool. Well, I still don't understand that because, so do you say no to all the other jobs that come in, or you just keep pushing them behind to the end, to the last, here, get in line. And I know that's what some people do and that works, but you can lose jobs that way too. So I didn't really want to do that. So I was like, yeah, I can get it. I can do it. I can get it. I can do it. And then I started doing all these jobs, some of them which weren't paying the best because you want the work. And, I did that for about half a year. And I was like, fuck this. This is ridiculous. Because you're never going to make everybody happy, especially for that dollar, and still be able to give a good quality job. So it's like less is more. The best batters don't swing at every pitch, like I said, guys. So I really had to learn what I valued more. Was it doing all these jobs, to make, say, $3,000, or just doing one job and making, say, $2,200, And then there's less stress, there's less this, there's less that, less management. And then you're going to value that $2,200 a little bit more because you're going to be like, oh, dang, if I would have just changed this, or this, or this, I could probably still be in the same ballpark of what I'm making with less stress. But that's also very hard to do when there's not a lot of work going around. So that's why I always say don't keep all your eggs in one basket. Try and get work from as many different people as you can. Just be very careful. But then again, not too much. Don't get overboard. I just got a big appetite. I'm not going to lie. I like to bite off more than I can chew because it keeps me fresh. I like challenging myself. So, and like I said, I do value my time a lot, but it's changing. It's been changing. The busier I've been getting and the crazier it's been getting, and especially now with Instagram, it's been changing. I've been starting to see more value in less is more. I've been really seeing that a lot, but then again, sometimes you just got to do it and try and make it work somehow. One guy once told me, get the work, figure out how to do it later. And that was a great mentality when you're starting out, but that can also really fuck you. Which I'd like to tell buddy now, Mike, thanks a lot. That was great advice, but also that's a little bit foolish. So once again, guys, like I was saying, it really just comes down to you, what you want out of your job, what you want out of your life, what you want out of your painting company, your cabinet company, your carpet company, whatever it might be. Just remember that. Really, really figure out what your values are, what you value the most, where that all lies, and that will really help you strive in your company. It'll also help you on the online marketing, social media aspect of it too, because then it's like, when guys message me and they say whatever they want to say, it's not always bad, but sometimes it's just like, okay, it's easier to just be like, well, okay, cool, man. Yeah, that's what you think. Then that's cool. Cause we value different things. I love it the most when it's like, I could have done that faster. It's like, cool. Well, that's awesome. But I don't value that, at least on this job. I don't value going fast. We don't get paid to go fast on every job. It depends what we're doing. If it comes commercial or production, then it's a different story. But when it comes to custom renovations, fine finish, cabinet spraying, lacquer trim out sprays, stuff like that, it's totally different game. I've been meaning to post a video on my IGTV about the two-tone rail that we did with the open-toed stringers and the wood banisters. By golly, gosh, geez, that is not easy to do. And that's just, so that's a perfect example once again right there. So do you say man, I know I'm not going to get top dollar for this because for one, it's a subcontract. So do I go overboard because I know it might need the love? So it's been my responsibility as the boss to have to set that boundary. Because sometimes if you leave your guys or your workers and next thing you know, you come back, you're like, dude, man, like, and that this is a really hard thing, guys, because how do you tell your guys that make sure you do a good job, but don't do too good of a job? And that's a tough one because it comes down to what you're doing and the job that you're on, right? So, I mean, I do value getting in and getting out in the terms of like, okay, if it's a 3-week job for the spraying, so I'm not saying get out, that type of work. I'm just saying like if it's you got 3 weeks, let's get this done, let's move on. But if the job starts trailing along, you're like, man, like this is pretty bad. And if the powers that above you, they don't want to help you, next thing you know, it's just you. And you're like, fuck, okay, guys, we might have to do this. We might have to do that. We might have to adjust this. We might have to adjust that. Because like I said, I do see value in getting onto the next one. And it has nothing to do with just getting in and out. It's like, you got to think about it this way too. If somebody keeps you in a job for longer than it should take due to it not being ready or shoddy tradesmen working on other sides that you might have to fix, or just bad supervision and bad scheduling, I'm not losing money right now. It's what I could be losing money out on, like what I could be losing out on the next job, because if I can't take 2 or 3 jobs on and this one's got me like, no, it's okay. Oh, you're going to want me to pull all my guys out? All right, let me pull all my guys out and we'll go to the job that's paying me now. Well, not everyone's going to like that. So it's a tough one, right? So like I said, value your time, value your employees, value the dollar, but don't let it run you. And the tool thing, that's a big one. That's a big one because that's so subjective. I do get questions, Danny, Mirka or Festool guy? And I'm like, neither, because I don't know neither of them. Because all the sanding we do is a little bit intricate sometimes. So we found over time there's just no point. Sometimes we'll use, maybe a rotary sander or something inside big boxes if we're doing built-ins and stuff like that as the initial sand, but we'll go over it with a fine sponge after, right? And we sand it all by hand, we touch it all, make sure we know it's all smooth, all profiles, everything gets done by hand. But over time, I have seen certain things or systems that have helped us that maybe the guys we learned from, the old school guys, would be like, no, that's a fucking waste of time. And that's another great example right there that I've changed so many things in my company that were stuff that these guys had taught us, because I'm like, what the fuck? Why are we still doing that? Even look at my brother sometimes, I'm like, wait, stop. We're not doing that anymore. That's ridiculous. That, like, fuck. I don't even know why those guys even did that. Why they're even teaching people that. So, you start to see like, well, I value systems. I really value knowing that a certain system can do a certain thing. I see value in that knowledge, but I also see value in doing things the right way. And whether it's having the right tool or not can be tough, because these guys I worked with, like, they never switched their tips in terms of sizes. I got on Instagram, started realizing like, hey, that looks like it works. Or, hey, like I did it like this. Or, hey, I'm going to try that. And the next thing you know, you're evolving and you're becoming better, and then you start to see like, oh man, like now I see value in having 2 or 3 different sizes of tips in my tip can. Before, and I'm sure like even some guys now, they're like, fuck, we don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need it. I'm like, well, you want me to go spend an extra $50 when we don't need it? And then next thing you know, they try it once and it saves them, it shaves some time off, or it helps them with this, or maybe they always put a little sag in a corner or something because they're using a certain tip, and instead of just like tipping down or switching or even getting the knowledge to know like, hey, maybe I should try this, some people are stuck in that box. So for me now, I see value in having a cachet of tips. Some guys don't. Like, some guys do not see the value in the tape. They don't see like, and I'm not saying that they should, you should see it. It's like, no, it's just like, at least for what I'm doing, it's way faster, cleaner, effective to tape our trim off for painting walls and ceilings. We'll still cut our ceiling line. If the wall meets the ceiling line, we'll still cut that in by hand. I mean, we taped those red walls because the drywall was a little, so we taped those ones on the ceiling because I knew that would just be the fastest, best way to keep that red line crisp. You know, if it's like white ceiling, beige wall, like shit, man, cut it by hand. If it's white on white, shit, cut it all by hand. Don't even tape the frames, because that's what we do. If it's all same color, monochromatic, then we'll just tape the baseboard. We won't tape any of the trim, and we'll cut everything by hand. But if it comes to crisp contrast that you need, certain lines, I find a lot of value in buying good frog tape. You know, and some people, they don't see that. Oh, I could have cut that already, or I would have done it just as good, or I would have done it just as fast. Okay, cool. I get it. Awesome. Cool. We're just different. All right, sweet. You know, but for me, it's because I like to do it that way. Because for one, this, you know, yes, if you have a guy who's learning, he's not really learning properly how to cut in. I get it. But he'll learn that on the ceiling lines. And then guys are like, man, you're just throwing him a rookie on the ceiling lines? That guy should be learning to cut baseboards first. Like, yeah, I get it. But now that we're taping it, I can still have a $17, $20 an hour guy. Frick, I can have my son come in and help us cut. And know that once that first light coat goes on that frog tape, it's sealed. Boom, it's done. And then we can go and we can quickly cut it. So like I said, I see the value in the long run. So there I am, maybe taking a little more time to tape it and prep it, and the other guys probably already started cutting. But then by the time we tape it, cut it once, he might be done cutting it the first time. And then when it comes to that final coat, that's when we're going to blow them out of the water. Because that's like, man, it's already done. Boom, boom, boom. Quickly cut it. Bang, roll it off. You know, well, of course, Sam didn't do all your prepping and patching and like, you know, take it easy. I didn't mean to cut right to it, but you know what I mean? So I see more value in that for taping. Yeah. And that's funny because I see sometimes, can Topline even cut? Like, does he even use a brush? All he does is spray. I see him spray all the time. Yes, the Spray King can use a brush. Of course. You know, like you think when I was learning, they didn't just hand me a sprayer. You know, we had to learn on prepping. So we prepped a lot in the beginning, you know, and I valued that more than anything, because when you're just a prep guy for a grunt for however many years, when they finally give you that gun, you better fucking know at least half of what it takes to do a really, really good fine finish spray job. You know, the other, I wouldn't even say half, because the other spraying and then technique and all that other stuff, that's a whole nother thing. But I just mean that I got really good at prepping, you know, so I found, like I said, I find value doing it right here in the beginning. Boom, it'll be faster in the long run, right? Because I valued that. You know, I valued making sure I knew all the things that I had to do, all the steps that I had to go and take before I jumped into it. Because I didn't want to jump into it. Like I constantly say on my podcast, guys, don't jump the gun. Learn it, know it, live it, breathe it. Then you'll have a better chance of doing higher end stuff, or just being more efficient and more productive. And so my point to that is that I can cut the shit out of anything with a brush. I'm really good with a brush as well. But I don't see the need anymore now with the frog tape to do it that way. And yeah, if it's like, say if my son was coming up and learning and starting to get into this, yeah, I definitely would have to show him like, look, you have to learn it this way. Make sure you know it. And then he's going to discover frog tape and see how much more efficient, productive, and better, at least for what we're doing, that the outcome can be, right? Yes, still learn the basics, learn the principles, know it, breathe it, like I said. But at the same time, now I don't see value in that anymore. I just don't. And a lot of guys saying like, well, holy crap, man, who can afford that? And it's like, well, you obviously don't value, well, maybe not value. Maybe you don't see how you can get value out of people around you. You know, like your sales guy. Like if you're on your own, you got to talk to your sales guys. You know, I get my frog tape for just about $5, maybe just $5 and some change. You know, that's pretty good price on that. And then I just talked with a buddy of mine, another fellow painter, and he's got some other stuff that he's getting from, I can't remember where, but it's American product. Looks just like the yellow frog tape. Works almost the same, and it's a fraction of the cost. I haven't had a chance to use it on a big job yet. You know, he gave me a couple rolls to try out. But like I said, if it works just the same, then is it, oh, now you're cheaping out because you don't want to pay that? No. Now I do see value in getting the same result from a $3 tape as opposed to the $5 tape. If that tape becomes crap and it screws that quality up and it screws up my system, back to the frog tape. Because like I said, at the end, so I guess it comes down to it sort of to a scale. The quality, I value that the most. That is the most important thing because that helps our reputation. That keeps me where I want to be, what the types of jobs that I want to do. I don't get a lot of the tire kicking shit and all that because that's not where I want to be. Right? So I set a really high standard and I value doing a very good job because it's going to get me better jobs, right? If I can save a few bucks here and there, yes, I'll try. But if some guy's like, oh man, like I knew one guy, clever. This is clever if you're in production, okay? He'd buy the whatever, freaking 19-inch roll of paper or whatever it is. It's bigger than the 12, 16-inch, whatever. And then he would cut it in half on a chop saw. So he'd buy 2 or 3 rolls of this paper and he'd chop it in half and he'd have double. And I thought that was super clever. Yeah, you have to carry a fucking chop saw around with you. Yeah, sure. Or buy it all in bulk and chop them all up. But that's how he would save, Sometimes even like when guys tape windows with a paper, how much do you overlap those corners? Some guys do not overlap them a lot. They don't want to waste that paper because they see value in that. Me, I'm just like, man, like, yeah, you could probably save some time and some paper there. But at the same time, it's like, fuck, man, this shit is so cheap. And if you guys are like, whoa, well, easy, big time baller. It's like, no. I just value different things. I'll never buy a blue 3M or a black no-name tape machine ever. Had them, will never buy them again. That was a waste of money. Even though I still could have probably used them and made them work, it's like they're just not what I need and they're not efficient enough. And I'm sure you guys are like, well, you must have been using it wrong. No, it's just the good 3M one, like the one you pay dollars for. They're just more sturdy. They're built better for what they need. They're needed for, So like, no, I don't see value in cheaping out on that. The painter pole that hooks onto the tray, the yellow thing that hooks onto the tray that you can rest your paint pole on. Sometimes I give guys a hard time in town about that. And they say, hey, when you get to my age, Sonny. And I was like, no, man, because when I get to your age, I still want to be able to fucking bend over. So I'm going to keep bending over so I can stay limber and still bend over when I get to 70, 60, whatever it is. If you're still painting, then like maybe you should stop complaining about shit like that and start worrying about different stuff, because if that's what you're worried about, bending over to pick up your paint pole, it's like, okay, man. You just freaking spent $30 on that, but you could have spent $30 on some frog tape and got this place fucking done double time. But no, so it's comes down to value. Some people don't see it that way. And is that me being a little bit like, like arrogant and like offsetting a little bit? Well, a little bit, because like to me, that's silly, because that's what you hear a lot of. Oh, I would have done it faster. Okay, cool. You would have done it faster for sure. Oh, that's too expensive. Oh, but I got bleeding. It's like, oh, well, it's this. Oh, well, it's that. Well, it's like, okay, don't complain. Just know that there's different variables and outcomes for doing different things, right? So, like I said, I put a very high value on quality materials and product. And I don't like to cheap out, but I also don't like to go crazy because I do see that there is no point sometimes. When it comes to tools, I can be a little bit picky. Like I said, the tape machines, the 1-inch putty knives that we use, or 1.5 inches, they need to be super flexible. They need to be, I can't use a 5-in-1. I've never used a 5-in-1. We'll never use 5-in-1s. It just it doesn't work for what we need. If we need to open up a pail, we don't mind breaking our car keys. Because that's usually what guys do. They pull out their car keys to open up a can. Or if you know how to use a putty knife, you can use the edge of a putty knife. But the 5-in-1, we don't really use too much. We don't really need it. We like to have our putty knives for the red glazing to be really, really flexible, thin. So we use an array of tapes. We have our workhorse tape. We have that American PG brand tape that we use for the really crisp lines when it comes to solvent color contrast. I see value in using frog tape even if it's a box, even if it's like, hey man, how come you tape that whole, you probably could have cut around the header and just taped the like side of the frame. Like, fuck man. Okay. I might have saved like a roll or two of frog tape on this. Like, awesome. If it's a $15,000 job, sweet, I saved $10. Well, every little bit counts. You're absolutely right, man. I just don't see it, the value in that. So that's cool. You're right. But I don't do that. Right. So, and like I said, so when it comes down to the American PG brand, like if I see guys tacking with that, they tape the floor off or something, boom, boom, with the regular tape, and they start tacking it all down with that American stuff, that's when I started to be like, yo, that shit's expensive, man. We only use that for this. So when I had guys learning, I was like, hey, man, that tape, it only gets used for this. Do not use it for anything else, because I see value. And it's pointless. You have, the $2 Scotch 3M workhorse tape that I buy in a box for cheap. You buy a box of that for $30. You freaking spend $30 on 9 rolls of the other stuff type deal. I don't think it's like that, exactly that math, but you know what I'm saying? So it's like tacky with that. Well, man, that's a lot more work now. Okay. Back to the value thing. I'm not going to complain if you're taking a little bit longer because you're going from that tape to that tape, or get smarter and just use all one, then go back, use all the other one. So it's hard because everybody values things differently. So I value my time, but sometimes I'm just like, man, just get it done. So sometimes if my guy says to me, hey man, this is all we had, I didn't want to go and get another roll, you didn't have any, blah, 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 I had to use this. Okay, man, I'll take that. Right? So, but we like to have a different array of those. Brushes, rollers. I mean, we have our favorites that we like. We've been starting to not change, but see, once again, getting into different calibers of jobs, doing different things. It's not always the grand new home stuff where we're doing repaints. Then we started using different rollers, mostly for speed and definitely spitting and stuff like that. But if you're starting fresh, some of those microfibers or the different rollers, they don't cover very well. It could be the color too. It could be the paint as well. But I mean, like, even with, let's say a high-end Benjamin Moore products, that's what everybody seems to go to. Is like, oh, well, if you use this, it'll cover. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. And then I need to buy a special roller, and I need to have the guy from Ben Moore come down and stand over my shoulder and make sure you're putting it on right. Like, come on. You don't really need all that. So, but either way, if different variables, we end up using different tools. We don't use any power sanders. Sometimes we'll use a rotary sander. We don't use the Fest tools or anything because we're not big into the exterior repaint game. And I see a lot of guys online, they use that, especially for the exterior stuff. And those machines look amazing for that. It looks like they eat that shit away, which is awesome. Because nobody likes to be scraping all day. So I see some of those machines, they work really, really well. Haven't had a need to buy one. And if I did, like I said, I would do that, the valuation on the value of it. Like, do I really, really need it? Like if I do 1 or 2 jobs a year, does it pay itself off? Yeah, might. I don't know. So, right. Like I said, when it comes to sprayers, I value less maintenance. I would rather spend a little bit more or a little bit less. Depends. Like if I'm spending a little bit more, it's because I'm wanting something a little higher end that I might be picky about. But usually I'm spending on a mid-grade machine, not mid-grade, let's just say not a lot of bells and whistles. A lot of the machines I have, they don't have electronic stuff to them, no motherboards, no this or that. Pretty plain Jane. I like them low maintenance. And like I said, the shop's here in town, so I get everything done through them. All the tools and everything and parts are right there. So yeah, that's for the sprayers. And I do see value in certain tips. I'm a picky son of a bitch on that. I'm sure you guys have noticed. Repping the 410 all day baby, of course, but I have, like I said, noticed that there are a bunch of other tip sizes that work really well. When it comes to different brands and different types, that's where it gets a little sticky for me. I've used now a few different Graco tips. I haven't used any of their full, like, non-low pressure tips. I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't know too much about the Graco like stuff. But I have noticed the majority that I used have been a low pressure. They sprayed good. But when it came to the lacquer, it was like, nah, I didn't continue to use them. I always go to the SC plus 6 Titan tips. They're the fine finish tips. They're not low pressure tips. And that's why I like them. And I also find that just for what I'm doing with the lacquers that we're using, they're just amazing tips. So I don't stinge out on that. See a lot of value in those babies. And I see a lot of value right here from Instagram, from us sharing, because you're going to learn something new every day. Even if it's from someone who's not even as far along as you can learn from all of us. So I find a lot of value in keeping an open mind, right? So it's that value thing. And maybe this isn't even the best subject, and they might not all correlate, and I might even be using it in the wrong context sometimes, but this episode really is just to remind people that don't worry so much sometimes about everything, because once you figure out you and your system and your business, you'll start to see what you're going to do and not do, and those values, and how you can make money like that, right? You want to figure yourself out. What do you value? What do you not value? And go with that. And if someone's got something to say and they don't like it and they think it's bullshit, well, fuck them. Too bad. Just move on. Just at the end of the day, especially coming from me, just make sure you do a good job. Whatever that might be to you, might not be the same to the other guy. But just if you know in your heart, if you see other stuff going around and other stuff online and other jobs people have done, and you're like, damn, that was a good job, then that's when it comes down to, shit, man, like, what's your excuse, right? Because if I see a really, really good job, I know I can do that. If I go to a job and they say, I want it nice, and you picture that job in your head that you remember seeing, and you want to give them that, or you have a photo of something you did before, and you're like, hey, look at this, you want this? Yeah. Okay, sweet. Well, here's the cost. Oh, I can't do it for that. Maybe you say no. Maybe you say, okay, don't worry. We'll work it out. We won't give you that quality. We'll give you this quality. Oh, is it going to be worse? And it's like, well, no, it's just, sometimes you got to tell them the secrets you don't want to know if you really want the job. So it's a tough one, guys. Like I said, just figure it out. You'll figure it out over time. But don't rush it. Figure those values, your standards, your morals, all that kind of mumbo jumbo stuff. Figure it out, because it's really going to help you in your company. It's really going to help you on your online basis and your marketing basis, just to know where you stand, right? And that will help you figure out where you're going to stand. Because like I said, not like I said, like a lot of guys have said online, there's 1,000 different ways to skin a cat. So really it's going to come down to you, but just figure out what you value the most. Some people don't value the high-end tool because they know they can get a finish good enough with the low-end tool. Some guys want to save up for the high-end tool and they won't touch anything till they get it, because they think that tool is going to give them what they need to produce a quality job, and they value that. You know what I mean? Some guys like to cut by hand because they're really good at it. They'll get it done faster, better, cheaper. And I'm not just saying it's a cheaper job, just cheaper for them because they don't have to pay for the tapes. That's another scenario as well. But like I said, some of that I don't find value in. Some guys might not, right? And that's what it's all about, guys. There's many different walks of life in every trade that we do. It's where do you want to be? If you want to be in the high-end fine finish game, produce that, be around that, and hopefully you can get those jobs. Sometimes you're going to have to eat shit, and you have to do the crappy jobs, or you're going to have to do the crappy jobs and make them look immaculate, so people are like, wow, he was right. Like, yeah, motherfucker, I was. I'm telling you, I'm on my game. And then next thing you know, it's like, okay, we can go to the next one. And it's like, you know what? And then you can start adjusting your system. Be like, you know what, guys, we don't need the 12-inch paper now. Like, we've done it, we should drop down to this. Or, you know what, guys, like, maybe we should throw our rollers away instead of washing them. Who knows, and whatever it might be. Like, we like to wash them. But I'm telling you, I've thrown a ton of stuff away, because sometimes I'm just like, fuck it, man. Like, we're done. We're out of here. Just toss it. I'm not cleaning it. Yeah, I could have used it for a ton of other jobs after, for sure. But it's also time is money too, right? I don't value sitting there for 2 hours cleaning like 15 rollers after, It depends. Like, if I really paid good money for those rollers, yes, I'm going to clean them. But if I went in and I cheaped out a little bit because I knew that it was this or it was that, then, man, maybe I'll toss them. Brushes, we don't really toss unless we fuck them up. Unless we wrap them up and they dry out, or something dumb like that. Brushes, we usually buy a good one. It's your brush. Wash it, protect it, keep it. We value that. The rollers for us, if it's our favorite Purdy rollers, then we'll wash them. We'll keep 5 or 6. we have them. But if it's like a repaint where it's like, boom, we just got to do 2 walls. Hey man, go to there, hit those 2 walls, blah, 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 blah. Then we don't, we might just like stinge out a tad and then use a, mid-grade roller and toss it out. Right. And a Pearly Colossus might be mid-grade to you, but I'm just saying for us, that's, what I'm saying. So I did get some rollers from, Matt Geelong there, HB Geelong. Yeah. He sent me some Two Fussy Blokes rollers. Man, that's a little bit of a tongue twister, ain't it? Two Fussy Blokes rollers. He sent me 2 or 3, and I'm dying to try those guys out. It's like microfiber. That's what they look like. They're really soft. They were nice. Really good to cuddle with. So we're going to try those babies out. But like I said, guys, it really comes down to the systems and what we're doing and really how we want to tackle some stuff when it comes down to what we're using for tools or products. And that obviously is going to come down to what you're trying to get out of it and what your value out of that job for that time. Right. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Once again, sorry. Well, I shouldn't say sorry because, I'm not sorry for being busy, but I am sorry that I can't be pumping these out on a regular. But now, like I said, in association with One-to-One Studio, still set up in home base though, so I got this right at my fingertips, and I'm going to start pumping these. I'm getting Todd back on the horn. I got 1 left to edit that we last left off with, so I'll be putting up another episode of Tuesdays with Todd sometime soon here once I get back into the saddle doing all the editing, all that type of stuff. Because little sidebar, guys, it's a ton of work, and I don't want to just come out and be putting stuff out that is just so. And some people might be like, dude, your shit right now is so. Okay, cool. Well, it's can't. They're not all going to love you, right? But I just mean that I don't really want to come on. I mean, if it's a short one and it's something that I really want to get off my mind, then yeah, maybe I'll do, a 20, 30 minute one. But I really want you guys to be able to, really dig your teeth into these. So like I said, I'm not sorry that I've been busy and I'm not sorry I haven't put them out, but I am sorry that I can't really be giving some people who want, to be listening to these all the time. I apologize. Give me a minute and I'll get them out. Cause like I said, it's a ton of work. And if anyone knows anything about it at all, the editing alone, like even now that I'm hooked right up to my computer, now I don't have to record to SD card now, bring it home, transfer all that. Now it goes straight to my computer. Okay. Well, I've got rid of one sort of problem. Not problem, but one thing less to do now, right? But it's still all the editing. It's all my and all that stuff. I kind of like to, make it a little nicer for you guys, and there you go. Back to the value. I see value in that. I don't see value in half-assing anything. And maybe some people are like, man, you're going overboard. Yeah, maybe. But when it comes to awareness and marketing and branding and what people are visually seeing or hearing from you, in my opinion, guys, take my advice. That shit's important. I'm going to do probably a 2-3 part series dedicated to Instagram and how it can help you and whatever business you're doing. If it's obviously specifically for painting, but how it can help your paint company, you as a painter. I'm going to do a little special on that because it's all very important how you portray yourself. Like they said, first impressions, the lasting impression, you only get one chance at that. So I always found that I didn't like to half-ass anything that I put out online. I take a lot of time to edit to make sure it's right. I've been getting a lot better. I don't have to do the 2 or 3 takes anymore. Even though some people are like, geez, that's not very genuine. Well, it is, but I don't want to be stuttering. Because I don't want that for you guys. So I put in a little bit of extra effort to make sure things are tight, they're nice, they look good. So this podcast is another thing too. And that's another reason why I haven't completely been pumping out the Tuesdays with Todd, because I know Todd's a busy guy and I think he's back home now and he's been moving around and he's doing different things. So I don't want to just get on it with him for 20 minutes and shoot the shit. I really want it to be good, wholesome, genuine stuff. So stay tuned, y'all, because I'm going to have more stuff coming out. Promise. Like I said, be patient with me, please, because I got lots of good stuff coming out. And like I said, I'm going to do or a 2-3 part series just solely for Instagram, and I'm sure that'll help you guys a ton. And then, like I said, I'll now that I got this set up at the house, I can really start pumping out really, really good, wholesome things. And maybe there will be, 35, 40 minutes, but maybe there'll be, 2-3 part series, like I'm saying, because I can do that now, and that makes me really happy. So thanks so much, guys, for tuning into this episode, and stay tuned and check us out on all platforms. Like, subscribe. Have a great day.